it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing the Racing to Reading tag. This is the tag that's created by the Reading Rush Readathon, and yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully there's some books on here that might interest you, but let's get straight into it. So the first question is Warm Up, a book that stretches your mind. For that, I wanted to recommend Death's Acre, which is by William M. Bass. I read this a few years ago and gave it 5 stars, and it's really good. It's about Bass's journey owning a sort of forensic death farm where bodies are buried in various different places, in different soils. People test various different things to look at decomposition, all to help with solving criminal investigations. And throughout the book we touch on big high profile and not so high profile cases that Bass has been part of in order to help the police to either find whoever's done it, to interpret the evidence that they pick up. And so we get this sort of interspersing of scientific evidence and scientific exploration, as well as the idea of this body farm, as well as the criminal cases and real life sort of crime element to it as well. And it's just a really good read. I found it really interesting, and I just think the people that do this work are phenomenal, and they really are helping to keep us safe and helping to progress scientific discovery to help fight against criminals and criminals that are committing horrific murders. Okay, the next one is, I'm sorry, I'm looking down because I've got it all written here. The next one is Start Line, a book you started but never finished. For that, I'm going to say Love Lettering. I picked this up recently. I looked at it and I thought it sounded brilliant. It was a really different idea on a romance novel. It's about a woman that creates sort of lettering. So her main business is doing lettering, either for sort of engagement announcements or weddings or calendars or diaries, and creating different types of lettering depending on what the people are looking for. And she's made it into quite a big business. She's got quite a big sort of celebrity high profile following, and about a year previous she has made the wedding and engagement things for this particular couple. And unbeknownst to us at the start, she incorporates these little things into her writing, and she has incorporated this sort of message into this piece of artwork. And then a year later, the man who was engaged has come in and said, why did you do that? And we didn't end up getting married. And there is something sort of there between them. And the idea is that then they sort of go on this sort of exploring around, looking at different lettering and the meaning behind it and stuff. But I just found it so boring. I mean, that sounds quite interesting when I've explained it to you, but the way that we got there was just, it was slow, and I didn't like the voice of the main character. I didn't like the relationship between the two. I just found it a bit flat, really. So that's one I started but didn't finish. Next is Sprint, a book you read quickly. I'm going to say for this, To Love Adam Connor. I read this in a day. I could not put it down. It is the sort of companion second book to Love Jason Thorne, which I also loved. Both of these books I gave 5 stars. To Love Adam Connor is about our best friend of the main character from the first book. She's gone to stay with her best friend because she's down on her luck. She's broken up from her boyfriend. He's moved away and she's got nowhere to live. So she's living with her until she can get herself sorted. And who should move in next door but the swoon-worthy father of a cute little 4-year-old boy who's recently divorced, and also an actor and very famous and gorgeous and lovely. And a chance encounter when she ends up saving his son's life starts this sort of swoon-worthy relationship. And what I love about these books is the men in them are so solid and sure, and they're not doing all those things like messing the girls around. And you know, I really liked it, and it was just really a lovely romance. So I read that really quick. Next is A Marathon, a favourite long book. Well, it will come as no surprise to you, or perhaps it will. I loved The Count of Monte Cristo. I didn't think I was going to. I put it off for years and years and years, and then because of BookTube I decided I was going to read it, and I made a review video of it, and I'll link it up above. And I took my time with it. I read it in chunks. I really let it digest. I did some research while I was reading it into the characters, and I brought up some character maps, and I just really immersed myself in this world. And it is a beautiful, amazing, intricate story, and I really love it. So much so that during the reading rush this time, I am reading a retelling of it as the book to sort of movie book, and I'm loving that too. So this story is my favourite long read. Next up is Hurdles, Ups and Downs, a book with ups and downs. Well, I'm going to say for that Solitary, which is a book I read recently by Albert Woodfox. Now, I feel a bit strange saying that this non-fiction book had ups and downs, but for me it had some ups and downs because it's such an important book, and I've read a lot of books recently talking about the US justice system and the US prisons, and it's something very foreign and alien to me. It's nothing like the UK system, and so it's been very eye-opening and interesting, but the whole criminal court justice system over there is extremely different from over here, and so there was a lot of that in here. We're following Albert being in prison for something he didn't do, for you know, in part, and because of different rules and regulations. He was in solitary for so long, and these sort of injustices and the way that prisoners are treated, and I found that really interesting and engaging and important. What I struggled with a little bit, the downs in this, was there was a lot of talk about the criminal cases and how they went through and the paperwork that happened, and I think if you're American and you're aware of the sort of system that is in place there, you would find it a lot easier to understand. But I did find those bits sort of bogged me down a little bit. So it was a book of ups and downs. I mean, ultimately it was a book that I definitely pleased I read, but there was some ups and downs in there. There was some slower bits and then some bits that I sort of read a bit faster. Okay. The battery died, and then I went off and did some stuff, and life happened, and now I've got all my new cherry earrings, which I'm obsessed with. But let's carry on with the questions. So the next one is Finish Line, a book that you were proud to finish. I'm going to say for that, Gone with the Wind. It was a long book and it was really good, and I ended up really loving it, but it was quite long. There was a lot of war going on, a lot of war that I wasn't, again, it's sort of an American war. I didn't know much about what was going on. There was a lot to take in. So by the time I finished this one, I was really proud that I'd stuck it out, I'd taken my time, I'd soaked it in and really enjoyed it. And I think that's the thing with sort of the longer books. You really have to slow down your reading and slow it down just to let yourself take it in. But I was really proud when I finished Gone with the Wind, and I do recommend that if you've been thinking about it, it's definitely one to give a go. Maybe set yourself a certain number of pages each week and do it over a month or a few months, and just immerse yourself in the story. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got some unlikable main characters, but a lot goes on, and then you start to sort of understand them a bit better in the setting that they're in. And it was just a wild ride. So yes, I was proud to have finished that one. Next is Gold Medal, the best book you read during a readathon. I don't know an answer to this one. I don't keep a very good record of books that I've read during readathons, so I'm not sure if I can answer that one. I don't remember if any of my 5-star books were read during a readathon. I tend to find during readathons actually that I end up with lower star books. I don't know if it's because I'm trying to fit them into prompts, so that I end up picking up books that maybe wouldn't be on my 5-star predictions or what, but I can't answer that one, I'm afraid. So maybe one will come up in the reading rush by the time I've finished. I've still got one book to go, but who knows. So far, I can't tell you my favourite book I've read during a readathon. And then the final one is Participation Medal, a book that's underrated. For that, I'm going to talk about a book that I have mentioned once, and I'll link up, I think I did a review of it, so I'll link it up here. It's called Boy Made of Blocks by Keith Stewart. This book surprised me, mainly because firstly it had a male protagonist, which I really struggle with, and secondly because it was a book which had a lot to do with the discussion of parenting of children with autism, and I find this is often very stereotypical, and working with children with autism in my job and seeing the very large spectrum of autistic characteristics, I do feel like there is a very significant stereotype in autism fiction books where it is what everybody would just expect someone with autism to be like, and that is just not the case. Autism is a massive spectrum, and there is so, you know, there's all this thing about like people say, oh, autistic children don't like to be around other people and prefer their own company. That's complete bullshit. And yes, some may be there, but that's not true of all autistic children. And I just think every individual child with autism deserves you to know about them as an individual, just like it's worth knowing about each individual person. So what I really liked about this is it's very personal actually for the author. He has an autistic child, and I think some of this was told from experience, and it's about a man and his wife who have separated because of his sort of relationship with their autistic son and his inability to connect with him in any way, and they've separated and he's moved out, and it's about this journey of him. He's still parenting, he's still trying, but it's about him finding something for him and his son to do that then helps them to form a connection, and for him to come to terms with how life is going to be with an autistic child, because it is going to be different. And I just thought it was such a wonderful book. I really enjoyed it. So yes, I'm going to recommend that one as my underrated book, because I haven't heard anybody talk about it apart from me. So I'm pushing it and telling you to read it. That is it for the tag, and I'm looking forward to seeing other people's answers for this, but I am going to love you and leave you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.